Hello everyone and welcome to another Advanced Warfare video. So Black Ops 3 comes out next week, and Black Ops 3 appears to be the most competitive-oriented Call of Duty to date. They have upgraded ranked or league play to a pretty high level in their new arena mode, and they are initiating their very own esport now with the Call of Duty World League, and Activision has even gone as far as to hire the former CEO and president of ESPN to head up that venture. It appears as though they are starting to take esports very, very real. And esports have been growing just in general. They gain tens of millions of viewers every year, depending on the game. And now TBS has signed a contract to air two 10-week seasons of CSGO in 2016. So I thought this would be a good time to finally just break down and have the discussion and make plenty of people angry and make plenty of people happy by answering the question, are competitive games sports? So regardless of which side of this argument you fall on, there are legitimate arguments either way to be had. So I decided to go with a more official route, and I looked up the definition of the word sport, and it says, an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. So let's just break this down piece by piece. Okay, number one, inactivity. Yes, esports are activities. Number two, involving skill in which an individual or team competes against another. Yes, there is actual physical skill involved in esports. You have to have great reaction time. You have to have excellent hand-eye coordination, muscle memory, strategy. And yes, it is an individual or team competing against another. Individuals, of course, would be something like a fighting game, and team would be something like League of Legends or shooters. And teamwork is massive in the team-oriented esports. And then it's for others, entertainment. And obviously, yes, they are entertaining. That is the whole point of them. Video games from the dawn of video game time have been all about entertainment. So there you have it. You look at the definition of a sport, and esports meet all the qualifications. There is nothing in the definition that I left out or didn't mention that it is clearly something that they don't meet up with. So you can all just, forget about this argument. It's over. Esports are officially 100% sports. Sorry. Yes, I forgot about physical exertion. And I'm not sure exactly what physical exertion means, so I'm going to look up another definition. I know what physical means, but what exactly is exertion? So it appears that exertion is the application of a force, influence, or quality, and so I guess physical exertion would then be the application of a physical force, influence, or quality. So let's think about how exactly that applies to sports. To do this, we're going to think about two things. One of them is unquestionably, undeniably a sport, and that is baseball. And the other is very widely considered a sport. However, I do not consider it a sport, and I'll explain why, and that's NASCAR. So when you look at baseball, baseball is 100% about moving a ball. I understand that the ultimate goal of the game is to move around the bases and score runs, but ultimately when you break it down to its most basic, simple explanation, it's about moving a ball. So let's think about how that ball moves. Okay, the ball starts out in the pitcher's hand. The pitcher then begins his wind-up, and he starts going through his throwing motion. And in his throwing motion, he's twisting his body, he's driving off his foot, he's slinging his hand, and he is creating a physical energy or a physical momentum in his body. He then, at the point of release, transfers that physical energy to the ball, which uses that physical energy to travel from his hand to the plate. And then you have the batter. And the batter is doing basically the same thing. He is stepping forward, he's twisting his body, he's rotating his shoulders, and he is creating a physical energy in his body. That physical energy is then being transferred to the bat through his hands, And then when the bat strikes the ball, the bat transfers all of that physical energy to the ball, which then goes flying up into the air. Now, to make this point, think about if you just set a baseball on the ground and don't touch it, it's not going to move. The baseball cannot move on its own. And if you move your arm slower, you're going to throw the ball slower. The ball's travel is based 100% on the physical energy created by the thrower or the hitter. Now you look at NASCAR, for example, or just motorsports in general, that is not physical energy. That is motorized energy. And so the momentum that you create to push the pedal down does not actually make the car move. It simply sends a signal to the engine telling it how fast you want the car to move. To make this point, go sit in your car, do not turn on the engine, and press the gas pedal. Does anything happen? The answer, of course, is no. And that's because your pressing the gas pedal does not make the car move. The engine creating momentum and sending it to the wheels is what makes the car move. And so when you go back and you think about anything that is a true sport, that is unquestionably a sport, that you cannot deny is a sport, you're thinking about things like track and field, baseball, American football, national football, ping pong, tennis, everything. All of those things are driven 100% by human's natural force. Whether you're driving the force through your foot to propel your body forward in a running motion, or you're driving the force through a racket that smacks the ball, or you're driving the force through a baseball bat that smacks the ball, whatever it is, you are the one creating the force. The athlete is the one creating the force. And that eliminates a lot of things that people consider to be sports, like motorsports, in which, again, the athlete is not the one generating the force. The car's engine is generating the force. So when you look at video games, okay, as much physical talent as is necessary in video games that we talked about earlier, the fact is that moving the thumbstick or the mouse is not what causes the character to move. It simply sends a signal to the game engine telling you that you want the character to move. And so when you look at the definition of a sport and you see the application of physical exertion as a necessity in whether or not something is considered a sport or meets the definition of a sport, you cannot consider esports to be in that category. And that is probably why they have a special caveat before the word sport, just like motor sports are not real sports or physical sports, and now you got esports are not real or physical sports. Now, I don't want to take anything away from esports. They are successful, they're competitions, they're entertaining, and I really hope that TBS finds success with CSGO, because I would love to see more actual video game leagues being aired on TV, whether it's Spike TV or TBS or ESPN or wherever they want to show it. I would love to see more of it, but I cannot in good conscience call it a sport. Now, of course, my opinion isn't really much, and everybody has their own views on this. Maybe your definition of physical exertion is different than mine, but I'll simply leave you with this. If you believe that something like Formula One, NASCAR, superbike racing, motocross, all those things that require the assistance of an outside force, if you consider those to be sports, then you have to consider esports to be sports, because whether you like it or not, esports has as much in common with sports as those things do. And if you consider those things to not be sports, like as I do, then you cannot consider esports to be sports, because once again, those things have just as much in common with sports as esports do. So I'd like to go ahead and do a shout out now, not for a YouTube channel, but rather for a Twitter handle. After my video on esports on ESPN started blowing up, I got a message from somebody named at DH Shawan on Twitter, and he said to me, "Hey Jay, I love your videos. They're great. great content, but your thumbnails make me want to cry acid and they burn my soul. Please let me do the artwork for you for your channel for this foreseeable future. And I said, fair enough. Yeah, my thumbnails do suck. They're pretty much just, you know, some copy and paint kind of stuff from Microsoft Paint. And so he sent me some thumbnails that he had generated for some of my previous videos just as an example of what he's capable of, and I couldn't believe how good they were. And he volunteered to do a profile picture, a banner, and thumbnails for me. So if you have noticed an increase or an uptick in the aesthetic quality of my channel, it is all due to him. He is a fantastic artist. He has a bright future in graphic design if he decides to go that way. And I strongly suggest following him on Twitter and showing him a little support. So thank you very much for helping make my channel look that much more professional. Thanks for listening and watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the commentary. I hope I didn't make anybody too angry. And goodbye.
Elite!